Hi, it's been a while. I just got a new job and I've been working on this big Superman video that came out recently, so I haven't had a lot of time to work on content. And I have so many ideas for different videos, and most of my videos are built on a topic that I just kind of make something around. That's what the first part of this series was. I just wanted to say, even with all the IP, I think phase 1 of the MCU is really well done and well planned. But a lot of people really liked that video and they want more. So I decided I had some loose idea of what I wanted to do, so screw it. Let's try to get there and see where we go. I will not say how often or frequently I will make these videos. I don't want this channel to be this content. I feel like it's very formulaic and easy to get pigeonholed into one thing, and I want other stuff. So if you like this concept at all, or you like my personality or my opinions or my ideas, please subscribe and go watch my other videos. I'm always getting better, and constructive criticism works across the board for me. I've already learned a lot from just reading the comments of this video and making my last video. So I do have a long-term overarching plan for this whole thing, but some comments have helped me here or there. I'll put a couple on the screen. Almost all of this is good ideas that I'm implementing in my mind, and some of which you'll see appear in this video. Before we officially start and I end this little spring cleaning segment, let me say, this might be the actual start of a controversial series. A lot of these ideas are my own, and I do genuinely like a lot of it, and I have a longer term plan, but I think some of it's a little off the wall, and there's a lot of things that I'm trying to get started here, where phase 1 was an introduction, phase 2 is a tutorial. So, without further ado, here is phase 2 for my perfect MCU restructure. With hindsight, but no previous, done. It's a hard concept to understand. I get it. Just move on. X-Men. First Class. We're starting off with a massive lore drop. Not only have mutants existed the entire time, but a lot of people knew about them. They were very notable back in the day. This movie will take place in the past and focus on the first ever X-Men team as we explore the wider impact on the world they had as some of the first big superheroes, and maybe explore something of a mystery as to where the fuck they went. This won't impact the phase too much. A lot of this phase is split between a big culminating event that happens throughout it, but it's going to touch on some more historical aspects, do some more flashback work here and there in a couple films, while setting up some ground level stuff, a wider cosmic story. We have a lot of stuff we need to set up, but it does kind of stay as a more grounded overarching plot for the phase, and I think that this will help seed some of those ideas in there. Like I said, this is a tutorial. Captain Marvel, a show this time. Yes, we are officially introducing TV shows in phase 2. I have 2 different types of TV shows that I will talk about more towards the end of the video when we get to the second show being released to this phase, but the main thing here is the Captain Marvel TV show. This will go on through the entirety of phase 2, which is several years, so this will probably have like 1 or 2 seasons that could be pretty long in length. This TV show will follow the original Captain Marvel as he arrives on Earth following the Kree disaster that happened in the Avengers movie. Throughout the show, we see him don a superhero persona. He eventually has a young sidekick named Miss Marvel. We'll say that she doesn't have any powers, but does utilize a lot of Kree technology to help Captain Marvel in his plans, kind of like a more traditional sidekick role, where she doesn't have the same powers, but she has little gadgets here and there, and her job is really to help Captain Marvel in moments where he needs more than 2 hands. Now, the main conceit of this show is that nobody knows Captain Marvel is working with the Kree to take over planet Earth. He's kind of doing an Omni-Man situation here, where he comes, we know that he has ulterior motives, but he does act as a hero for an extended period of time as he's kind of scoping it out and feeling around. I think this show would be a great way of introducing more street level things, street level heroes like D-listers, some villains, because again, one of the main things that my whole thing is about is that I think Civil War could have been done better. And I want to set up more to that and make it feel like a bigger epic conclusion to a massive overarching saga whereas the original Civil War was alright, it just didn't hit for me. There's also several characters in the current MCU who I feel like are bonded through a connection to the original Captain Marvel, and don't really have that anymore. So they kind of have to work around and find different things, and I feel like it's a lot simpler to introduce Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel and have her eventually don that persona. I'll say that throughout this phase, you'll see that I'm taking general ideas from the comics, but I am shifting and adapting them to work within like a 2-year-long TV show, as opposed to decades of comics with all these different things. I'm combining a bunch of different characters who are significant to Captain Marvel into Miss Marvel, and then I'm gonna work around with that. Captain America, the Winter Soldier. This is going to be very similar to the original movie, with Captain America reacting to the new era where it's less idealistic and more traditional movie, like Hollywood America, where they're always the good guys and they're fighting the good fight, where now it's a lot more corrupt. It feels less optimistic and way more cynical. But this movie is going to have a bit of a twist. I don't know exactly how to implement it, so if you have ideas, please leave a comment. But we're going to reveal that Captain America has his own form of the secret code words that Bucky has. In fact, both of them worked together on a team back in World War II, where they were basically a special ops military unit filled with meta-humans, with super soldiers, superheroes in general. The list being the Human Torch, Bucky, Namor the Submariner, Captain America, and Wolverine. We'll see subtle flashbacks here and there as Captain America starts to unlock these memories, some of him saving Magneto, doing all the various things that has happened throughout the comics with his history in World War II, and we're going to see some of that start to come to him, and it'll be something of a mystery throughout this movie, and for future phases, what happened? Why doesn't he remember this, and why does he start to remember this now? This will help us utilize Captain America in more ways than just what's going on now, and have him be a vessel to explore previous eras of the MCU. And it'll help Cap's past be way more important to the wider story going on, as opposed to just kind of being an afterthought, where now he's just a modern super guy who's really hopeful. But he could be a guy who has a lot of these memories of previous things and uses that knowledge to help the modern era. Again, it should be noted, Phase 1, the whole point of that is that I like the grounded take. I like that this is our world, we're slowly going to introduce superheroes into what we understand as the current world. And now Phase 2, we're removing the guardrails. We're going head first into the supernatural, although we're not going to do too much yet. The Iron Man 3. What can I say? This is one of my favorite movies in the MCU. I kind of want it to just be the same. I think we'll see more small-time heroes or influence of superpowers in like the smaller towns that Tony visits. But ultimately, the movie is the same. I think it should end with him removing the arc reactor and the shrapnel from his heart. The Fantastic Four. This one's complicated. I want to introduce the Fantastic Four now. I want to introduce them as a part of this series because I think that they're important to help introduce some of the most iconic characters into this universe, and it's kind of hard to work them in, but they have to be worked in here. So this is what I've come up with. Give me any suggestions for how to fix it. At some point in the Captain Marvel TV show, he gets trapped in the negative zone. In the negative zone, he runs into the Fantastic Four, who ultimately are struggling to get out, seeing as there's not much to work with. Reed has some ideas, but he needs somebody on the outside. Luckily, Captain Marvel is there, and he has Kree technology to communicate with Miss Marvel. Ultimately, throughout the episode or episodes, they're able to get all 5 heroes out, with the Fantastic Four revealing that they were in there for almost 10 years. Although, Captain Marvel was only there for like 10 hours. Luckily, time is kind of weird in the I wrote Phantom Zone in the script and I didn't notice until just now. Time is weird in the negative zone, so the Fantastic Four haven't aged much, but the world has moved on accepting their death. They, throughout this movie, talk about their interaction with Doctor Doom, maybe it's told somewhat through a flashback, and by the time they escape, they decide to go find him. They go to Latveria and see it thriving, and ultimately decide they have to let Doom go this time. Fortunately, it's been too long and Latveria would kind of be screwed without him, but they're letting him know they're back and they will just fuck him up next time. Daredevil. This isn't going to be a over the entire phase long thing. It's not going to be super connected as of right now. I think he's a great way of introducing the street level heroes. Similar to what we did with phase 1, where we have it be a lot more grounded and focused on a very tight sequence of events, and then eventually unfolds out into the more supernatural, magical aspect. Daredevil's going to be similar. He will interact with more street level heroes and work to defend them in various ways, ultimately crossing paths with Kingpin and starting Kingpin down that path towards the Anti-Vigilante Act, becoming mayor and president and all that stuff. That's what this show is for, although it does not really impact the wider MCU at all. It's just important to have street level heroes. Having a good street level makes the cosmic level way more impactful. So as I said earlier, there is 2 types of shows. There's a show that is the MCU show, and then there's just the Marvel show that is in the MCU. Captain Marvel is an MCU show. It's like the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., but way more impactful and actually involves several characters that are in the movies and does a lot of crossover. The actual Marvel shows that are in the MCU focus on just a tight story, maybe some references here and there, and those characters will show up at some point in a movie, but their goal isn't to tie back to movie. This phase is definitely a tutorial. We have the 2 types of shows, very quick, Daredevil, quick, done, Captain Marvel, throughout the whole thing. It acts as a tutorial for how the wider thing works when we start expanding and adding more. I didn't add many more movies than we had in phase 1, I just added 2 shows. And I think I might even 1 movie less. So we haven't changed that much. We haven't increased the amount that we'd be making movies, although we are going to slowly start ramping up production as phases go on, so we can have the audience be used to the systems that we work with, and then they get more of it, ideally with high quality all around. Hopefully we're all on the same page, because now it's time for Avengers: Dawn of Ultron. This movie opens up with Captain Marvel and Miss Marvel tied up. A mysterious figure from the shadows talks to Captain Marvel and convinces him, without knowing Miss Marvel's there, that now is the time to strike. That now is the time to defeat many of the heroes in the world, as their biggest threat has finally surfaced. This will reveal to Miss Marvel what Captain Marvel's true intentions have been the whole time. As this mysterious figure reveals, he knows about the Kree plan, and he's here to help. He's here to take over Earth with Captain Marvel. Miss Marvel has to fight them off, barely escape, and head straight to the Avengers. She gets to the Avengers, reveals Captain Marvel's true identity and purpose, and they prepare to fight against this villain. At some point in the movie, it is revealed this is Ultron. Ultron is a hyper-intelligent android made by Hank Pym, who was important to include in the Avengers in Phase 1 for this, so that we could have Ultron in Phase 2 and include the Hank Pym aspect. Hank Pym is a pacifist, and he feels like that's a weakness. So he decides to create a robot that has all of his brain, but is less pacifistic and more willing to do what needs to get done to protect as many people as possible. However, the paperclip theory comes into effect and Ultron becomes something of a monster. He deems humanity itself its greatest weakness and is willing to kill as many people as it takes to supplement himself in power so that he can protect everybody else by just stripping away their autonomy. Ultron managed to escape and create some sort of technology that's able to brainwash people and make them forget very important details. Hank believes he destroyed him, but in fact Ultron got away and started building more bodies and more iterations. Now he's at Ultron 5 or 6, and he's way more powerful than Hank even designed him to be. Captain Marvel and Ultron send a newer prototype for the Ultron body to Avengers Tower to defeat them and or distract them from the wider plan going on. The Avengers barely manage to defeat Vision, and Hank, Tony, and Bruce all go and try to reprogram him for the better. But they're ultimately stumped, and they're trying to figure out how to make Vision good before Vision kind of just does it himself. he points to a chip in the back of his head and kind of just signals to destroy it. Once that chip is removed, Vision gets up, fixes himself, and reveals that Ultron made him, but accidentally made him so good that he fixed the flaws in Ultron. He made the correct Ultron that Hank was trying to make, but kind of messed up in doing. Vision doesn't see humans or heroes as a problem at all, and in fact has a lot of good methods and ideas to help protect humanity. One of the first ones being, they gotta take down Ultron. So they go find the duo and eventually manage to take down Captain Marvel. Afterwards, it's revealed that Ultron ultimately planned on backstabbing him in the first place. They built this machine that can communicate with the Kree intergalactic forces and kind of send a beacon out to them, with a bit of a virus in there. Ultron plans on taking over the superior intelligence, this like supercomputer that kind of like runs the Kree's stuff. Marvel's weird. But Ultron wants to take it over. He thinks that he can take over the biggest intergalactic force and run it, and make it even bigger and stronger and control the whole galaxy. In a last-ditch attempt to stop Ultron's plan, Miss Marvel jams her very own Kree technology into it, causing it to explode. It launches her back, subsumes her in Kree energy, and she's almost dead at this point. Until Captain Marvel weakly crawls over to Miss Marvel, tearfully apologizes, and reveals that he wasn't evil anymore. He didn't want to do this plan, but Ultron reminded him that somebody out there will find him, and it will be worse if he doesn't do his job. But Captain Marvel reveals that the biggest thing that helped him understand and love Earth and humanity was Miss Marvel, his friend, his companion, and he decides, after recognizing this Kree radiation that is infusing itself within her, he can combine it with his powers and save her life. And it works wonderfully, although it does take Captain Marvel with it. With his final words, he passes on the mantle to Carol Danvers, the new Captain Marvel. She uses her newfound superhuman abilities to single-handedly wipe out Ultron and his entire army and destroy the whole plan. This movie will end with a funeral for Captain Marvel, who is a testament to the power and beauty of humanity. Okay, that was my phase 2. It might be kind of controversial. Things can be removed or added. Please give me ideas. This is still, I want to say, relatively grounded. We are introducing more intergalactic stakes, and this is way more of a part 2 to phase 1 than it is a phase 2 in a massive plan, if that makes sense. But things are going to start getting crazier. There's a lot of directions you can go after phase 1, and I wanted to pick something kind of simple, with the ultimate plan being, as I've said, a tutorial for the rest of the phases, introducing some very key players who are supposed to exist first, before the wider characters can come back. Throughout the thumbnails and just content of these past 2 videos, I've been alluding to big events, even directly naming stuff like Civil War. Now we're going to start getting there. We have a bunch of characters, they're very important, and phase 3 is when we get to Civil War. So please leave some criticism, as long as it's constructive, some ideas. What do you think? How would you do it? But please, over everything else, subscribe to the channel. You'll definitely get notifications for future content, and who knows, it might be the next installment in this series, although I will not guarantee when that'll come out or if it'll even be soon, although I will start working on it as soon as possible. Again, I don't want this to be the thing on this channel, but if people really like it, I can't see why I wouldn't do it. Although I really need to work on this backlog of videos up here. There's just so much I need to get done, so I guess this will be the end. Alright.